And every time Ron Paul would mention the Federal Reserve, you know what the crowd would do? In the Fed. In the Fed. It was more exciting than any rock concert I've ever been to. We've got the Patriot Act and the Real ID Act and so many other unconstitutional laws which are actually no laws because they violate our civil liberties and God-given rights, so that now our government, our agents, our employees, now they watch us and they track us, and now they want to tag us like cattle and sheep with the latest version of the Real ID Act. And many of our state government law enforcement wants to do the same thing. They want to do their bidding. I was the House author of Senate Bill 464 2 years ago, in which Oklahoma stated that it would not comply with the Real ID Act. Senator Randy Brogdon and I, along with several other legislators, have worked real hard the last 2 years trying to reverse a lot of the other systems that have been put in place that will allow the state government to do biometric scanning and then share that information up the ladder with the federal government and other regional governments, other countries. And so while we're trying to pass this legislation, we're working real hard to get support, explain things to our legislative colleagues. Here we have the Department of Public Safety, just a few of them, a handful, that are working behind our backs to kill the legislation we've worked hard to protect. Your rights, while at the same time making sure that we are not hindering law enforcement to do their job to protect us from dangerous people, people that we're really worried about. Well, that's not good enough for them. Some of them apparently think they know better than we do, and that we need to obey them. The DPS director, Kevin Ward, actually told me in one of our meetings that we had last year, he said, as we were discussing the Constitution, and specifically the Fourth Amendment, he says, well, you know, we just have a different opinion about the Fourth Amendment. Well, isn't that the problem? I mean, the Constitution is pretty simple. And that's what I said to him. I said, what's the disagreement? It's real simple. It's not rocket science. The purpose of government is to protect freedom. And freedom is the ability to follow your own free will and not the will of government bureaucrats. Yep. Right. Judge Andrew Napolitano, in his many books and speeches, asks Americans a simple question. Which are you, a sheep or a wolf? Do you blindly follow where you are led, or do you challenge the government at every pass, forcing it to make decisions that will protect our freedoms? Don't we have the rights that are guaranteed and cannot be taken from us? What part of Congress shall make no law does the government not understand when it criminalizes free speech? Free association, and the right to keep and bear arms. Whatever happened to our inalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness that are proclaimed in the Declaration of Independence and guaranteed by the Constitution, yet ignored by the government and those elected to protect it? Why does every office holder swear allegiance to the Constitution, yet very few follow it? Why aren't more Americans challenging and questioning the government as it continues to limit more and more of our freedoms? Yes, on January 3rd at the Bill of Rights Day rally, I mentioned an old song from 1970 by the rock group Steppenwolf. And I got a lot of feedback from that. I was pretty excited and impressed by that, because I didn't know that many people remembered Steppenwolf. A 38-year-old song entitled Monster that's almost 10 minutes long, and I'm not going to read all the lyrics to you like I did that day. But I want to mention a few of them, because we don't have time to read all the lyrics. Just good lyrics. But it talks about our country, both the good and the bad, the virtues and the corruptions inevitable in man. And the lyrics begin like this. It says, once the religious, the hunted and weary, chasing the promise of freedom and hope, came to this country to build a new vision, far from the reaches of kingdom and pope. And then it goes on to talk about how the spirit of freedom and justice was born with this country, and how the leaders and the people, though, increasingly failed to protect the truths identified in the Declaration of Independence, and how those leaders and those government officials have become like a monster, and they will not obey. And it repeats in the song these lines in these lyrics. It says, yeah, there's a monster on the loose. It's got our heads into a noose. And it just sits there watching. And it is watching us. It's watching us to see what we're going to do. It knows that we have the power, and it's afraid of us. It can only keep the con game, the fraud, going on as long as it can convince people to be afraid and that we need them, and we need them to take care of us. The final chorus line repeats over and over again at the end. It says, America, where are you now? Don't you care about your sons and daughters? Don't you know we need you now? We can't fight alone against the monster. It's amazing that the lyrics are so accurate after 38 years, but one thing that tells me is that it also means there's not that much time left for peaceful change.
That's true.
We can still reverse it. I believe that. But the more time goes on, the more difficult it becomes to undo all the indoctrination and all the little laws that are put in place that can be used against us, just like the recent Missouri example is a good or bad example. But we don't need a majority, just like it's already been said today. We just need a vigilant minority creating brush fires for liberty in the hearts and minds of people. One of my favorite quotes from Winston Churchill, he had a lot of good ones. He said, men occasionally stumble over the truth, but most of them will pick themselves up and hurry off as if nothing ever happened. I am so proud to stand here with you, people that are truth seekers, that have decided not to hurry away from the truth, but have decided to embrace it, even the worst of it, like one of our founding fathers said, and do something about it. You're here because you're a truth seeker. And there are so many people out there just like us that haven't yet joined the effort to take back our country. If you are new to the freedom movement, but haven't yet plugged into one of the many organizations here in our state or across the country that are fighting for our freedoms, you need to do that. If you have been, just like it's already been said, we all need to take our level of activity up to a higher level. We have to do that. And we have to continue to learn as we're doing. Not that we haven't done a good job, because we have. But we need to do a better job about how to focus our activities and our energy and our efforts towards things that are really going to make a difference, like electing people to public office, like Gary Casey said, at all levels. We need to take back the legislature. Every 2 years there's an election. We need to find constitutionalists that will run. Some of you here in this group will run. Some of you have run. Some of you know someone that will run. But we need to find people to run for offices. And the time to start learning about that, who, what, when, and where, is right now. Not at the end of this year, not next year. We need to get a head start on that. And we can take back our country if we do that. It's an honor for me to be counted among you and stand with you to preserve our constitutional republic. And I thank you for letting me be here today. Thank you.
By that. How many of you then said, I mean what I said? That's our Constitution, folks. It says what it means, and it means what it says. It is not open for interpretation. Controversial. That is not okay. Take this away with you today. Tell everyone you know. Tell them something. Tell them we need to get involved. Tell them what Representative Key had to say. In a few minutes, I'm going to open up the floor for questions. Ask whatever question to whomever you'd like. Just stand up, say you have a question, tell me who the question is for. But when you go home today, I want you to get online and email Kay Beach and ask her a question. Ask her, what can I do? And she'll answer you. I want to thank you all again for coming. I have a few more people to thank, and then I'm going to go ahead and open up the floor. Thank you to all of our speakers tonight. Let's hear it for our speakers. Yeah.